Random numbers. So when I saw how random this was, knowing how hypothesis. Right now.
Okay. You're Cognute.
Yes.
You'll be the first one, okay?
Like you want.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Okay. Whew. Are we good? The startups, I have Cognute first. Is there anybody, is that okay?
Say again?
The startups, I have Cognute first. Is that okay?
As long as it's not Raul, yeah.
I think he's third.
Yeah.
Cognute, then UVI.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
I think I'm good. Good? I don't know if you want to say hello, but you're on the thing. You're on the screen. You know, when we do, there's a Better Future Labs, team slide. So at some point, I'll point you out. Do you think he'll do anything? Jim, do you think he'll invest anything? I was going to ask him again.
We just had a long conversation about AI. He's like, I'm very, very careful and being very, very slow about this. He has a company that he's investing in that he's like, listen, the cost of the computer very, very high at this point. I don't think so. But I think he could be helpful.
Yeah, I think so.
And
Yeah, very, very. All right, everybody. How you doing? Thanks for coming out. What's really fantastic is all of you checked that box, I won't be a no-show, and you showed up. Usually more people don't show up, which is why there are no available seats. So thank you very much for doing that. So my name is Aaron Price. I'm the CEO of Tech United New Jersey. We run these events now monthly, so welcome to the AI Demo Night number 4. I'm going to share with you a little bit about what brought us here today, what we're trying to accomplish, and hopefully something positive you'll get out of the experience. Tech United is a membership-driven nonprofit that is built to empower entrepreneurs, innovators, and instigators to build a better future for all. We run events like this all the time. We advocate for policy. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the organization. I doubt you can see this screen, so if you just listen, I promise I'll tell you what's going on. I'm a 3-time exited entrepreneur. I've been doing this for a long time. I find it to be a very lonely experience. So this mission of leading Tech United is very, very personal. The goal is to surround entrepreneurs with the resources that they need to succeed, to get into rooms, to meet investors, to find talent, and accelerate those cycles so they have a better chance of success. So our membership is based very much around that mission, surrounding people with thought leadership opportunities, talent, etc. And lately we've been, that's weird. Lately we've been, we're playing a trivia game later, so apparently the audio is enabled on the trivia, so sorry, I'll turn that off in a minute. We've been advocating for policies that are very important, especially to drive more business to New Jersey, which I will share a little bit more about. We run an annual event called the Propelify Innovation Festival. Have any of you been to that? A bunch. Not all of you, which is very upsetting. It's like 5,000 people with this view on the water for all things entrepreneurship and tech. We are not running it this year for lots of reasons. I'm happy to talk to you more about that later, but we are doing a large AI conference in the fall. I wouldn't say instead of, but as a new event, which would be a lot of fun. We have an annual awards event, which is in November. We run a mentorship program for young startups, not necessarily young people, though they tend to be, but for new businesses. We create lots of content to create more awareness of what's going on in the New Jersey market, because those guys over there kind of kick our ass when it comes to awareness of what's actually happening over here. And we use technology to enable the way that our members can connect with one another. So there's a Slack group and other ways that people can connect without necessarily going through us or having to come to an event. There are 2 things that I want to make you aware of. These are a little dense. How many of you, who came from New Jersey? Okay, good. Who thinks they came from, who came from New York tonight? Thank you for crossing the river. Who thinks they came from the furthest away to get here tonight? Piscataway. Anybody beat Piscataway? Where'd you come from? What's that? Tom's River? That's far. Over here, what'd you got? Philly, I like it. We got a winner in Philly. Anybody beat Philly? What's your name? Jim. Big round of applause for Jim for making the drive. Thank you for doing that. So these policies should especially matter to all of you who raise your hands in the New Jersey piece, but they should be relevant to those of you who are from across the river as well. To incentivize early stage investment in startups, the federal government has a program called Qualified Small Business Stock, or QSBS. It's actually an exemption. I'm summarizing, so there's a few things that aren't completely accurate, but the point is, if you invest in or start a new business, if you hold on to the stock for 5 years, the government makes the first $10 million tax-free from your capital gains. Great incentive to drive the highest risk stage of business. 45 states around this country, including the one across the river, recognize that on the state level to incentivize the same activity so that your state capital gains are also tax-free for that first $10 million. New Jersey is one of those 5 outliers. We are already getting our asses kicked when it comes to startups in general, and so that is one of the primary reasons. So we have a bill introduced. We've been working for about a year on this issue. For those of you who are investors or entrepreneurs in the state, we would love your support in signing the letter. We're raising capital because we do have a lot of staff dedicated to this initiative. There's a lot of money at stake for those of you who might have exits on the horizon, but even if you just support us on the sidelines, we'd love your voices on this issue. The other one is an angel tax credit program. Same issue to incentivize. I know some angels are in this room right now. To incentivize those early bets, they are the highest stage of investment, or highest risk stage of investment. Most states have some program where if Mark over here is starting a new business and I write him a check for 100 grand, New Jersey will give me back 20% on my taxes. Whether I live in New Jersey or if I live in Idaho, they'll send me a check, which is awesome. Sounds great. The national average of those programs is 34%, including 25% across the river. So again, New Jersey under market on this issue. So we have a bill introduced to raise this to 35% with a 5% bonus for underserved markets. Again, could use your support in both signing letters and especially if you're willing to help fund some of these things, because there are a lot of dollars going back into people's pockets if these pass. So I hope that you'll support us on these pieces. Again, I know it's a little dense, but when people ask us why isn't there more activity, this is the number, QSBS in particular, is the #1 contributing issue to serial entrepreneurs staying in New Jersey. Many people have exits, get hit with this bill, or like, what the hell is this, and leave. And I've got 200 entrepreneurs who've signed letters, some of whom you definitely know, who have left the state because of this issue. So thanks for joining me on that one, but I hope that you'll join us in the mission of changing those policies. We run a women and minority business owners mentorship cohort. If you are looking to be a mentor or a mentee, there's a rolling application process. We'd love to have you involved. We've got some interesting sponsors and supporters there, and we've seen some really incredible outcomes, so we'd love to have you involved in that. Last year, these are our AI-generated photos. Last year, we started something as a separate entity called Better Future Labs, which is basically how do we take the resources that we have in this room and beyond and work together to get an inside track to problem areas and build companies to solve them. It's a startup studio at the intersection of this community and Tech United, all things AI, and our B2B partners. And we've got some really interesting companies happening there. We're raising some funding there that has a little bit of the round open. Mark, do you want to add anything to this? No? Always selling. So if you're interested in getting involved, a little dick, I couldn't help myself. If you're interested in getting involved, talk to Mark. There's a lot of very cool things happening, and they will generate about a dozen new New Jersey businesses in the next 5 years. So we'd love to have you as part of those. There's a lot of ways to get involved with that. So back to tonight. What are we trying to do here? The goal is to spark connections and inspire ideas. How many of you have met someone new so far? Okay, by the end of the night, if you didn't raise your hand, you have to go up and do that awkward, like, hey, I'm so-and-so, what's your name? And you should start with, how can I help you? Not, and I do this 1,000-word thing. Start with like a give, and then, those conversations will naturally evolve. But make sure by the end of the night, you've met someone new. I already asked where you're from, but let's get a sense of who's in the room. How many people identify primarily as an entrepreneur? Nice. How many primarily as engineers, software developers? Shy hands tonight. How many are affiliated with Stevens? Great. And thank you to GJ and to Greg, who's not with us tonight, for giving us this space. Can we get a round of applause to Stevens for hosting us in this awesome venue? And how many are working, we can skip that one. How many investors, if you're willing to raise your hands? A bunch. Great. Welcome. So I think you know some of these rules. If you haven't yet signed in, make sure where's Keely? Somewhere. But make sure you find this desk and sign in, because we really do ban people from coming back if they don't show up. You may notice this takes a lot of work. You guys only paid $8. We don't really want to do this, unless people are going to take it seriously, and that's really why we have that policy. It has actually yielded incredible show rates, so I appreciate you guys showing up. Typically, we've had over a 90% show up rate. So it's if you talk to other people who run events, they tend to be like a 50% show up rate. So that's why we do that, because we take it seriously, and I appreciate that you do as well. Meet and help your neighbors, we talked about, and leave us feedback. We want to make these events great, and so if there are things we can do to make it better, let us know, and maybe we'll try. So this is your chance. If you are here, especially those of you who are entrepreneurs, you should always have some kind of an ask, something that you need help with. So this is a chance in the room to stand up briefly, say, hi, my name is so-and-so, I'm working on this, I need help with this. And this next part's really important. You have to say, and I can help you with the following. And that part can't be like a sales pitch. It could be something you could genuinely help them with that you're not looking for money for. But this tends to be a room of people who want to see you succeed and want to help out. We've seen a lot of great things come of these experiences. So who would like to stand up and say that they want help with something and can offer something? Yes, Drew. Here, you're close enough.
Hey everybody, my name is Drew Knapp. I need help with startup, and we need help in raising capital. I can help with, I'm in go-to-market strategy. I have great ideas on how to bring something to market, a lot of experience in doing that. I also run a large-scale marketing portal, hyper-local marketing portal called thegreatertown.com. And I can help you if you need any help with SEO or visibility online. And my contact is Drew, D-R-E-W, at agreatertown.com. Thank you.
Great. It's always, somebody's got to start this off, so yeah, love the applause. Who wants to go next? We're going to do a few of these. I'm just going to stand here awkwardly until hands go up. So yeah, what do you got? You want the mic or you want to yell? Anybody want to yell while he makes his way up here? Go ahead.
Sure, I'll yell. Hey everybody, my name is JP. I need help with sourcing great hackers, great programmers like you've never heard about. I'm a CTO of a government technology startup. I've been out for 7 or 8 years. We're rebuilding our application, obviously, to use AI. So if you know anybody who's looking for an interesting challenge, we've got one lined up. I can help you with technology choices for your startup, programmers for your startup, advise, and freelance for 30 or 40 of them in the area over the years. It's turned out pretty all right. So you can find me JP Bonner at bonner.jp is my email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Phil Crowley. I'm a trustee here at Stevens and a managing partner at Crowley Law LLC. I just put a book up on Amazon. I need some help in marketing the book. It's called Avoid Startup Failure. Learn the top 10 causes of failure for technology startups and how to turn them to your advantage. What I can do is, for anybody here tonight, I'd be happy to do a 1-hour, no charge, deep dive on legal strategy, focusing on your needs for your startup. You can reach me at CrowleyLawLLC.com or Philip, P-H-I-L-I-P .Crowley at CrowleyLawLLC.com. I'd love to help you.
Great. Thank you. Go ahead. You want to yell or you want the mic? The mic is dangerous. Handing this over, people don't like to give it back.
Okay, if it's coming from your hands, all right. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Jacques O'Hayon. I'm an epidemiologist. I graduated from the University of Pittsburgh School of Public Health. I'm also the president emeritus of the Phi Beta Kappa Association of New York, and also the vice president of the Mid-Atlantic District. Basically, I'm working on a very difficult project. I need help from the community here, especially physicians. I discovered a biomarker, and that biomarker is found in individuals who perpetrate mass shooting, like school shooting. We just had one at FSU today. This is the typical perpetrator that I study. I found that individuals on medication have the biomarker I discovered, and I have an app and I have a patent to explore the biomarker. And it's also found in pilots. We've had a lot of aviation incidents recently. Well, against FAA regulations, a lot of these pilots are on medication.
What do you need help with, and what can you help with?
I need help with introducing my patent to the medical community. I need them to download the app and use it and popularize the looking for the biomarker, because it could prevent all these incidents could be prevented conceivably. And I can help you with epidemiology, biostatistics, for free. Just let me know. I can help you. And I've worked with Phil. He's good. Phil Crowley is good.
Awesome. Thank you very much, and appreciate the other endorsements. Anybody else? And see, now the hands go up. Yeah, you go ahead.
Hi, my name is Daniel Patton. I'm with Dream Engine AI. I'm currently building software in agent orchestration. So currently looking for PhDs in computer science, AI researchers. My background is UX UI design. I spent the last few years in designing interfaces for the government. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. You can contact me at daniel@buildwithdream.ai.
All right.
Oh, I'm in the mentorship program, by the way.
Oh, you're in the mentorship program. Good. Appreciate that. All right. Last one, right there. So, all right. Hands got to go up first.
Hi, I'm Rick Weiss. I'm the president, founder, and chief science/technology officer at BioCare. We're a digital healthcare company. I need help. We target cancer centers, and we're an engineering firm, so we struggle with getting deals done. So if anybody has some insight on how to sell into cancer centers healthcare, that would be great. I can help with if you're interested in any small business innovation research grants. I can help guide you on the process. I've been the PI now on 28 grants that I've granted award so far. Counted. Probably just wait, like right here. You're interested in follow-up.
Awesome. If you haven't, those grants are a big pain in the ass, but it's free money. So if you are interested in government grants, which now they're just loving to give out money, you may have heard, but you should talk to him because it could be additive to your fundraise.
We've raised $15 million non-dilutive through SBA.
It's how long did it take?
I've been in business 32 years, so
It takes a while.
it takes a while. I have a 50% win rate, which is way, way high.
It's hard to rely on, but if you're not familiar with the process, it can be very, very beneficial. So it's something that's newer, we find, to a lot of entrepreneurs who tend to just go the VC route. Okay, big round of applause for everybody who had the courage to stand up. Next time, raise your hand. So here's how this is going to go. There are 3 demos. They have 5 minutes sharp to present. Then we're going to do 5-minute Q&A. I'm going to leave them up here, so please think of questions. And then we're going to get speech coach training from GK Training from Ahmed, who's standing right here, to give them some feedback on actually how they presented. So there's under a lot of pressure. Then we're going to have a fireside chat, which is mislabeled, but it's going to be around how to use AI to build your brand. And then there's some trivia where you can win this crypto candle that we actually co-produced with a New Jersey manufacturer. And the startup's going to win the Audience Choice Award. This is one of my trophies from my childhood that has been rebranded AI Demo Night Audience Choice Award, which has even, like, I remember that sticker. It's very emotional. So it takes a lot to get up here. It can be a little intimidating. I've told all these startups this is a friendly room, so you guys can't let me down. So please help welcome our first startup. He needs a minute to set up, but Cognu.
Pass your mic to him.
Oh, yeah, I will. Did it pop up? Should. No? Did not pop up? It did before. Right, it's good. Nothing? It should just pop up. Hold on a second. It worked in the rehearsal. How about now? There you go. That's going to work. Except the clicker. Yeah, now the clicker will work for you. You good?
Yeah.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Satyajit, and I'm founder and CEO at Cognute. We do virtual assistant for consumer lenders. A little bit about me: I have been in the industry for 24 years. I started my career at GE, 6 years there, then another 6 years where I did a 0 to 1 with an exit in 2013. 2013 to 2023, I was CEO of a small cap, and then I'm doing this. I've been a lender myself in the past, and I have built a business of loan management software. And why I say that, obviously here. So we are building a virtual assistant for consumer lenders, as I said. So the landscape that we're targeting, about 123 billion are getting picked up by lenders in the US, 175 billion on this days, 60 days past due. And at the same time, they have close to 17.5 trillion in their loan book, which nobody's monitoring. They have 1.2 billion relationship, which nobody is harvesting. So our value proposition is to help these lenders through our virtual assistants to recover lost capital, create upselling opportunity, proactive monitoring, and at the same time, do all of it at a very, very large operational efficiency. So since today's demo day, I'll straight away get to the product. So these are the use cases that we are supporting. It could be simple queries, which is very common. Where are you located? What is the loan that you provide? What's the kind of interest rate that you do? How much loan can you give? From there to transactional queries, can I make a payment? Can you update my detail? Can you take an application from me? So, and then the real deal starts when you are talking about consulting and negotiating. So these agents are going to be consulting and negotiating. A customer comes and says that I have been paying $200, I cannot continue that anymore. Can we do something to $50? This is the time the Gen AI, which was doing all the work till now, goes back to cognitive AI and says, hey, I need an offer for this customer. Do you have something? Cognitive AI gives all the offer. Gen AI uses its ability to negotiate and get a closer from the customer. So on that note, I will just move to the product here. Sorry. I think it's gonna stay. So what you're seeing is our virtual assistant in action. A customer comes and say, hi, the assistant says, yes, I'm here. It does its usual authentication of the customer. And once the customer is authenticated, it gives the most seeked information. And this it keeps on learning what kind of information typically a customer would want to have. The customer goes, reviews all this information that has come in this case, personal information, loan details. They look at that. There is a link to the agreement also, just in case they want a copy. The customer says, what is my fee schedule? The system responds with all the details. And these are important parts. Share my payment history. Here it is. 2 of them went through, one of them failed. Important information for the conversation that is going to come up here. Is there a promise to pay? Failed means, did I promise to pay outside of the schedule? The customer says that, yeah, I don't think I can pay anything on this loan. Now the agent starts negotiating. This is your refinance option. I can actually refinance this loan for you, and you would possibly be able to pay it better. The customer sees that there is more money coming in. Usual query is asked is that, why are you giving me all the money in here when my outstanding is much lesser than the loan amount? And these are specific queries that typically every lender sees, and they spend a lot of time in going back and forth with the customers here. So in this case, the agent clarifies. The user says that, borrower says that, do you have any other option? Yes, there is an option. Can you talk in Spanish? Yeah, I can talk in Spanish. Here is your option, and I'll continue talking Spanish. Oh, come back in English. I want to continue talking in English. It comes back and talks in English. And then it says that, okay, still I want another option because none of these are working for me. It says, okay, I know you don't like refinance. I can give you an extended tenure option. And all of these, you are seeing Gen AI in front, but cognitive AI is working behind, which knows the customer, knows people like this customer, and making offer for this customer. So it says that, okay, I think this works for me. Let's finalize. The agent says, yes, you got it. This plan goes into your contract, and you're good on this. The customer borrower says that, can I get a summary of this conversation for my own records? Agent says, yes, here is the summary. You can download and keep a copy for your records. So I'll just build another one that this was completely automated. What you're seeing now is a navigator mode. This came as a feedback. Everybody did not want to put the AI agent in the void on its own. They said, why don't we create a human assisted mode? So the left side, the other side that you're seeing is the usual borrower thing. Blue chat window is where the human agent is working, and it is assisted by an AI agent, which is in gray here. So it's not just about, bringing in the information or typing the information. The AI agent is going to all possible repositories, CRMs, loan management system, loan origination systems, voice tracks, text tracks. It is going everywhere. And then basically it is getting all the information in one place for the borrower, for the human agent first. And then the human agent chooses to forward the information, or if they would want to send some information on their own, this is also possible. In this case, the human agent can also chat to the AI agent where it can ask a question. So typically I've heard in the back office, or I have myself seen in the back office, the call center agents spend more time talking internally than to the customer. This takes away that also. So I'll stop the demo here. Rest of the use cases are same as what you have seen before. Thank you for your time, and I'm open for questions here.
Can you keep people from asking questions of the AI that you'd rather not let them ask and get information on? Because I have provided custom programs to my students, and they've discovered how they can work around what I'm asking them to do by having an independent dialogue with the AI agent. And I was just wondering if that was a phenomenon that we considered.
So, in general, AI agent can be trained to do that. The AI agent that you saw just now, I've trained it to say, the only thing that you know is being a service or a collection agent. Other than that, if you ask it whether, it would say, no, I don't know about that. Your favorite music, I could talk about that, but today we are here to talk about loan. So this is not going to go outside the track of the subject, which is loan.
Could they ask them to explain the selection criteria and things like that?
Selection criteria for giving loan?
For what, I'm just saying, can they kind of, it's a bit of a on-the-fly reverse engineering, but I've been watching the students do it. They decide to have an embedded dialogue that says to the AI, I don't want to do what you want me to do right now. Let's cover this.
Oh no, that's something. If you take a generic LLM out there, they are meant to have multidimensional conversation. But what we have done, and technically speaking here, we have told these AI agents that the only subject you know is your role. You cannot talk about anything else because you're not allowed to. And this is a dangerous place to do that, because if this guy comes in and asks us that in my domain itself, for example, I am in bankruptcy, what should I do? The AI agent is not going to give an attorney advice. That's the thing it has been told to do. You're not an attorney, you're not licensed to give that advice. Yeah.
Extended loan terms or additional options on your roof. Have you seen that people who are traditionally high risk borrowers, as they engage, are they able to understand it from tables and information that's presented? Because sometimes they don't always understand that complementary sort of options.
Yes. So you're asking me, would the people come and have this conversation on such deep topics, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Would they be able to understand that?
Yeah. Yeah. So, this is from my own experience when I was a lender myself, and the loan management software that I was selling as part of that, I've been almost on all states of US, sat at cash drawers, done loan myself, sat at call centers also, heard a lot of voice tracks in this. Especially the delinquency and default case is so delicate and so embarrassing. People do not want to talk on voice. That's the one place they do not want to talk on voice. And what happens here is that they want to chat. And they don't want to chat to a human also. So they want to chat to bot, basically they want to go stand in front of a wall and answer a question, and wall could answer that question. So this one becomes so good for them, and they are trying to look through different options, what works for them. And they come in, ask, go back, come in, ask, go back, and then say that, okay, this is the information I will take. The other thing, beauty of this is that this is available when the customer wants it. Imagine being in a collection call during your workouts. Nobody should have that. But in case that happens, you can't take it. This happens 9 p.m., 12 a.m., 6 a.m., whenever you want. You can have this conversation, and a very intelligent conversation, which could be better than a human agent. I mean, a lender told me that if you go and ask my human agents to give an option, they'll probably take 10, 15 minutes to come with something. This guy gives it in a few seconds.
We are out of time, unfortunately. Good job. You can stay for a minute. Sure. Excuse me.
Thank you, Aaron. Well done. Hi, everyone. My name is Ahmed Maksoud. I'm with GK Training. We're a corporate communications firm. Very, very well done. Very quick feedback for you. We operate off of the principle that communication is a physical activity. All of the behaviors that we categorize with adjectives like confidence or assertion are really just an accumulation of different behaviors. And so when we are seeking to improve our communication, we should do so from a physical standpoint. I highlight that for you because in all of the really great stuff that you were doing here, you were speaking quite quickly. And part of the importance of pace in any communication scenario is not just that we are in control over how we are speaking, but also that we give our audience time to absorb and process that information. Now, if we simply tell ourselves to slow down, that's a mental directive, so it's not going to work. What we want to do instead is focus on how to manipulate the behaviors that allow us to control that speech. So when you're practicing this in the future, consider placing a hand on your stomach and taking a breath after each thought. Then continuing to speak, that breath will activate some of the relaxation that allows you to control some of your adrenaline, which will then help you be more intentional with your pacing. You can also over-enunciate while you're practicing. Even though you were enunciating adequately enough for us to understand you, the rate of speech made it a little bit more difficult for us to absorb that. So as you're practicing, over-enunciate, over-express what you are communicating. Aaron has given you a very difficult task by placing a tight timeline for you. But counterintuitively, the faster we speak, the less likely it is that we're going to speak intentionally and precisely. Slowing down makes us more succinct, allows our audience to absorb that message, and ultimately communicates more effectively than otherwise. Well done.
Thank you for the feedback. Appreciate it.
All right. Can we get a big round of applause for both of them? That's super lame. You guys got to do better than that. Come on, you got to bring some thunder for that. Also, before UBI goes, thank you. I mean, I'll take the compliments, but I know thank you for the encouragement to him. Someone left a Warby Parker glass case with glasses in them, so if that's you, Keely's in the back, she has it. So, can we welcome up UBI?
Hi everyone, I'm Steve, this is my colleague DH, and we're here from UVI, based up in Teaneck. On a personal note, this is my third startup here in New Jersey, having relocated from New York, so happy to be here in the New Jersey community a couple times now. And what UVI does is we work with companies like Hertz and Amazon and car dealerships across New Jersey and beyond to automate the vehicle inspection process. So they wouldn't let me drive a car in here today, but what you're seeing here is a car going through effectively an MRI. Car comes in for an oil change, drives through our hardware, and then we have an AI-powered algorithm that diagnoses everything going on with your car in only about 30 seconds, which I'm going to show now over in our live demo. So jumping to, this is a live inspection report from one of our partners down at Team Toyota in Princeton. This is what the service advisor and the customer would see once they go through the UVI. And first starting with the tires, we find everything from the tiniest of bulges in the tires that are not always visible to the human eye or maybe missed with traditional inspection. So this is a critical safety issue that UVI found here in just a few seconds. And now, of course, we're doing more straightforward things like checking the tread on the tires, checking the age of the tires, looking at the underbody of the vehicle for anything that shouldn't be there, something as simple as a leak, but even we sell this in homeland security situations, something as complex as someone put a GPS on their car or something even worse. We also check the exterior of the vehicle, and this, for example, is used by some of the rental car organizations to do a before and after check on any dents, stings, scratches, tiniest of scratches, not visible to the human eye or that may be missed. UVI finds that. For example, here on the front right door of this RAV4, we found a dent there, and again, only in a matter of 30 seconds. But UVI is not only an inspection process, it's also a data and reporting process. Our customers use this to find trends within their data. For example, here at Team Toyota of Princeton, we're in their live interface. And over the past 30 days, they've inspected 3,601 vehicles, about 30% of which required service. So that means 1/3 of the cars on the road we found an issue with in 30 seconds or less, whether it's tires, alignment, bulges, rim damage, physical damage on the vehicle. So I'm going to jump back to the deck here, and I'm going to hand over to one of our AI engineers, DH, here to kind of take you through the technology a little bit.
Thank you, Steve. So as you saw from the demo, we have a wide variety of different algorithms running on our UVI systems. Contrary to popular belief, not every problem needs to be solved using AI. We have a few examples here where we use analytical solutions, which are actually more efficient and more accurate. So for example, for the tire tread, what we're doing is we're calculating disparity using stereo cameras, and then from that point onwards, it's basically simple math to find how deep the treads are. We have another example for the undercarriage that we saw before, that we just saw. It looks like one image, but it's actually not. The UVI system is taking multiple images as the vehicle passes through, and then we're stitching these images using traditional computer vision algorithms and techniques. This is very similar to our phones are able to take panoramic pictures. But of course, there are also a lot of problems that do require very large neural networks and artificial intelligence, and we have a lot of very talented AI engineers are working day and night to train AI models to find things like dents, cracks on windshields, chips on windshields, broken parts, etc., etc. Next slide, please. So what's the future? At UVI, one of the nice things about working at a fast-paced startup is we're always trying to take the latest and greatest research from both academia and industry and apply it to our products and our business. So this is one example of that. This is what we call UV360. If you have been in the market for a new vehicle, you might have been on CarMax or a dealer website, and they might have a feature where you click on it and you're able to use your mouse to drag the vehicle around in a 360 manner. The way that they do that is they spend millions of dollars installing a turnstile on site. They have a car, every single time a new car comes in, they drive that car onto the turnstile, and they have high-resolution cameras that takes a lot of pictures as the car physically goes around. We don't want to do that. So what we do is we take our UVI scan, we use generative AI, and we're actually able to generate these synthetic images. What you see over here are all generated by AI, by our AI system, and essentially we're giving our customers the ability to have that 360 view feature without having to spend $1 million to get a turnstile installed and pay recurring costs to maintain that turnstile. So with that, I would like to conclude our presentation. There's a lot more generative AI stuff that we're doing right now that I don't think I have the time to share. But yeah, for the next couple of minutes, I'll be more than happy to take any questions that you guys have.
And just a note, if you want to see UVI in person, Team Toyota Princeton or the Ramsey Auto Group up here on Route 17.
Yes.
Do you maintain a database of what a brand new Toyota model something would look like at the factory? Is that your baseline?
Baseline for this feature?
To the client's cars that come in, to compare a known good versus what theirs looks like.
To my understanding, we're not doing that right now. No.
Maybe no need for it.
Right, yeah. Yes?
Yeah, can you tell if the vehicle's been in a flood?
We can identify if a vehicle has damages from floods that are detectable from the undercarriage. But if the damage is from like the interior, like the seatbelt color I think changes, then we wouldn't know. So anything exterior, we will 100% know. Things like engine leaks and things like that we'll all see from the undercarriage. But if the damage is inside, then we don't have any access to that because we cannot see inside the car.
Another problem we're having now,
Yeah, well, we could certainly predict, take the mic, sorry. We could predict it to an extent. If there's a significant amount of rust on a later model vehicle, we could build into the algorithm, that's an anomaly. And that's, something it would check. And that differs from the traditional trade-in process. You go in and trade in a vehicle, they do a quick look around, tires look a little bald, little scratch, $800. If there was, a giant amount of rust underneath that vehicle, they would never catch it. We're helping that dealer or the auction save that money and recapture it. It's really about transparency in every transaction in vehicles. Yes, Lisa.
How are you selling this? You were selling this a subscription model? Is there a utilization model based on how many cars go through? Is there a setup fee for the equipment? And then do you kind of predict an ROI for your users?
Yeah, absolutely. I can take that one. So yeah, so it's a subscription model typically, and it's based on usage, based on number of scans going through the system on any given month. And really and there's a one-time setup fee for the actual installation of the hardware, and extremely non-intrusive. We don't dig through the floor. We just come in, drill some technology down, and set it in place. But really the ROI varies. We work with all areas of automotive. For a car dealership, one of the first things they're going to find is they're just simply selling more tires, more alignments. But then longer term, we've done some studies with some of our partners. For example, we partner with General Motors and Toyota, and they do studies that customers are actually staying with the dealership longer. Typically you get out of that first financing cycle and you start bringing your car to an independent shop. They're taking it to the dealer longer, which is counteracting some trends. EVs are great for the environment. For dealers, you don't have that 6-month oil change cycle. We're helping them, keep that cycle. And then finally, too, with the reconditioning costs, especially now with inventory and really merchandising is going to help move vehicle inventory faster. We're helping recondition those vehicles and avoid those unexpected charges. But then we work with other areas, like for example, Amazon uses it to just make sure their vans are safe and not breaking down on the side of the road. Hertz is really around protection of their vehicle fleet and checking on their customers for all intents and purposes. I think in the back there. So we're not currently checking on specific engine issues like the timing on the belt. DH, I'm going to tell he's going to hand off to him. But it's
we have another feature that we're working on where this is very beta, but we're actually going to record the sound of the engine as it goes through, and there will be machine learning algorithms that we can use, maybe some generative AI algorithms that we can use as well, to understand just based on the sound that the engine is making as it goes through, is there a problem? I'm not sure exactly what that will entail. This is very early stages, so this is like in the works, but yes, definitely. Eventually, we want to come to a place where we don't have to open up the hood and look inside the engine bay to understand, because we want to deal with like major problems. So if there's a major problem, we want to make sure that that's taken care of.
Right here, Kevin.
Do you see this improving the trust factor of people feeling they're being upsold by their dealer for repairs?
So, I mean, we've gotten that as a comment in a few different places. I mean, certainly on social media, but ultimately it's safety is really the core factor for the vehicle owner. That, going back to our demo example, that's the tiniest of bulges. They may have hit the curb, they may or may not know it's there. And certainly if a dealer is rushing around trying to do inspections in the morning, it often gets missed. It's not necessarily, there's nothing necessarily wrong with the traditional multi-point inspection, but we're helping, with this, find those issues before a tire blows out or something happens on the road. That's really part one. Part two, it's the luxury experience. This is the first time that customers are seeing underneath their car. I didn't even know I had a panel underneath my car before I put it through UVI. It found a cut in my brand new car's tire. And that's really where we're using this technology to build trust through every point. For example, we're installed at the ports, and when vehicles come off the ships, they may be scratched up. If it's a high-end Jaguar Land Rover, you're getting a $100,000 car, you want that thing in pristine condition. We're helping them do that. So it does build trust in the long run, but yes, technically it does help dealers upsell more, which, let's be real. It's
for the right reason, that's fine.
For the right reason, yep.
We're out of time for questions, unfortunately.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Could you put
Very, very well
the
done.
best?
I want to highlight one quick thing for the two of you.
Not a mic? Yeah, it's a mic.
And this is useful for anyone who's going to be pitching or presenting
Yeah,
or
just
in any
magnetic.
communications
Just,
style.
no problem. Is that comfortable?
The distinction between when we are self-focused versus when we are other-focused. What I mean by that is, are we aware of the self-critical narrative that's occurring while we are communicating over whether or not our audience is engaged, is paying attention, and is listening to us? And there was so much really excellent stuff happening between the both of you in this presentation. But I want you to observe what happens when you're speaking in presentation mode versus when you're not speaking, when your partner's speaking instead, or when you're answering questions. And with both of you, when you weren't speaking, you were more physically grounded, and you were able to look at the audience to see who was and was not paying attention. Once you started speaking, though, some of what might happen when you were more aware of your own performance started to find its way into your body. So it was clear that a lot of this, the vocal stuff, was prepared quite well, but there was some more feet shuffling, there was more looking over the crowd. Once you started answering questions, though, because you were focused on the question and what that person was asking you, you were back to being more physically grounded, back to engaging people with more eye contact. So examine what's happening there and focus on the physical behaviors of shifting your focus to the audience. Namely, making one-on-one connections while you are in presentation mode, remembering to breathe, remembering to enunciate, and connecting with what's happening with them, looking for nonverbal feedback in your audience while you're presenting as well as while you're answering questions. Awesome work.
Amazing, thank you.
Yep.
Where'd it go?
Are you ready? Last one. There's a mic right there.
I think I'll skip the mic because I like to walk around.
Please use the mic.
But there's a mic here, right?
That's for the streaming.
Oh, okay. Archaic technology. So my name is Rahul Mandale. I'm a serial entrepreneur and a disruption bigot. Disruption bigot because my mentor coined the term disruptive technology. If you've heard of Clay Christensen, he was my professor at Harvard, which is in the news of late. And a serial entrepreneur because this is now my fourth startup. My first one was privately held, second one was acquired by NCR, third one got a large strategic investment from a $19 billion German company, and now I'm on the mission to solve health. So Live 150, no surprises for guessing what the Live 150 stands for. So we want to get you to live long, and we want to get your health span and your lifespan, which is very important. So how do we do it? So we are an AI-driven firm. We are WhatsApp-based. How many here care about your health? I think everybody's hands went up. That's really good. So I had a personal journey that motivated me on this. So my health metrics had gone wrong. My cholesterol, my blood pressure, my sodium, sugar, everything had gotten off the charts. And I used certain interventions which were focused on nutrition, activity, mindfulness, and sleep to reverse my health condition. So no meds, just simple interventions. And I realized that we have a lot of trackers. How many here have trackers? So we got a few hands here. How many of your trackers tell you exactly what you should do next? Nobody. Apple Watch doesn't tell you what activity to do. Your diet apps don't tell you what next meal to have. Your mindfulness apps don't tell you what you need to do, right? So we are that missing link. We focus on giving you a holistic, highly personalized plan focused on nutrition, activity, mindfulness, and sleep that helps you correct any of your health concerns. So whether it's things like osteoporosis or menopause or diabetes or cardiovascular health, or you just want to build muscle, that's what we help you do. So the way we do that is we have a WhatsApp interface. So of course, there's an app, but we like WhatsApp because the whole world these days starts off and ends their day over WhatsApp, right? So it could be any text interface. But basically, what you can do is you download the thing and you can see I'm taking an image. So I bought, this was just this morning. I wanted to confuse it. So I said, I'm going to put a bread there. And what it's doing is it's capturing the image. It's doing volume estimation. It's determining what the goods are. And then basically it's going to start doing calorie estimation and more importantly, the macros.
right? So there are agents that are talking in the back, right? And now what they're going to do is they're going to try and assess the impact of this meal. And all this stuff gets automatically logged into your app. So you don't really have to do anything. And right there, you can see it found, one medium piece apple, it got a banana, it got bread roll, it got green grapes. So it did everything. It found all the calories, the macros, and it basically starts determining what should my next meal be. So now I have a nutrition agent talking to my endocrinologist, blah, 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 and they're going to try and figure out what should my next meal be, right? And what it does is this is all coached in behavioral change. So it determines what would work best within existing habits. So you'll see that, right here, it gives an assessment, of course, and then there's, of course, my next steps, right? So it'll give me a holistic plan. So there's a nutrition expert, there's an activity coach, there's a sleep coach. They all talk, in the virtual world. You can't do this in the physical world. So we bring them together in the virtual world. We have fed them 30 million medical articles, every freaking textbook that you can find on nutrition and activity, and so on and so forth. And then they basically come up and tell you what your meal should be, what your next activity should be. So here it's telling me to go cycle because I like to cycle. So it figures out what would work best, right? It'll tell me to do a 10-minute, mindfulness session. And then more importantly, it starts making it very granular. So it's not just, this version is only on WhatsApp, so this is a very high-level version. But on the app side, you can actually get a routine. So even if you just walk, something as simple as walking, it'll give you that'll show up. It'll give you a routine which will say, hey, here's, amble walk for the first 3 minutes, then do a fast-paced walk, so on and so forth. So it's hyper-personalized to your concerns. It's hyper-personalized to your situation. It takes everything into account. It connects with all your devices. And then the beauty is you can also speak to it. So I can just tell it that, hey, I'm in a restaurant, I'm in a Thai restaurant, what should I eat, right? And then it determines that, okay, if it's snack time, it'll tell me a snack and it'll tell me a snack based on my preferences. So if I'm vegetarian, blah, 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 it'll start giving me the right examples. So in this case, for example, it's giving me a lunch and a snack option because I like to do one meal a day. I don't like to do breakfast. So there you go, boom. Breakfast is off the charts for me, right? So it starts giving us guidance in terms of what we already do. Now the question is, does it work, right? So I'm going to stop this here. Does it work? So I lost 8.5 pounds in 6 weeks without even realizing that I was doing anything different. And 5.5 pounds for my 18-member team. So there you go. That's Live 150, and we'll take questions. So, does Gemini connect with all your devices? That's your hope. I know the Fitbit guys. Not happening. They just laid off half their team last week, right? So, unfortunately, none of the devices still connect with these things. And then again, they are very siloed. So Fitbit, the entire organization has only focused on calories out. They have literally, even their sleep interface, all the other aspects that they've built are they're very rudimentary. And they're all historical trackers. The entire organization has been focused on tracking history. And this has been the case with Apple Watch too. So Apple actually probably, in my opinion, maybe more interesting because they've actually started putting in place agents and they're trying to come up with next best actions. But these AI models, they don't track your history. They don't completely personalize dynamically. So they are not tracking and seeing, hey, I just walked 15 minutes. And so what should my sleep time be? What should my meal time be? So on and so forth. They don't do that, right? You can't do that with these AI models as yet. So yeah, there's still some missing gaps.
Is the end user also a customer? And if so, what's the price?
Yeah, so this is a subscription play. There's a B2C play. There's a B2B play too. So we're building out an interface for the consumers. That's a classical subscription, $20 a month. And the B2B side, the challenge with these experts. So if you walk into a gym, for example, how many gyms give you a real-time dynamic plan for your workout? They don't even give you a static plan, barely. You have to hack your way in, right? So this will tell you. So if you didn't sleep well, it'll tell you, hey, go do yoga, right? If it's going to be raining, it'll tell you that, hey, you may not want to run outside, right? So $20 a month for the consumer, and for experts like nutritionists, activity coaches, so on and so forth, there's a different plan, but we help them capture data and come up with the first version of the plan. So that's how we'll drive value. That's a great question. So because of the very dynamic nature of people's lives, what we have seen is that people really want to see what's going on. So what people have come back to us in our tests and said is this is like a Google Maps for your health. It figures out, based on your concerns, based on your conditions, what your destination should be. And then every day we make a wrong turn. Like you may grab a bag of chips, right? You may have a glass of wine, right? Static tools like Gemini and others, they don't track that. But what this does is it still knows your destination. So if you had a glass of wine, it's going to adjust your sleep. It's going to adjust your activity. It's going to adjust your meal. And so because of the dynamic nature, what we have seen is the stickiness start going higher. So it's a little bit like Zillow and Google Maps. I mean, that's the, so we want to be like the Google Maps for health.
How do you determine what foods to suggest to someone? What's the science behind healthy food? Because there's lots of opinions about what's healthy.
Yeah, great question. So that's a huge multivariant equation. But from a diet, and it's not just for diet, but it's also for activity. How do we recommend the right activities? So we start looking at your preferences. So for example, I'm South Asian. I like Indian food. I'm vegetarian. So it starts looking at what my preferences are. I tell it like, okay, I like Italian food too, right? But I'm not held to only my preferences. So that's one layer. The second is my concerns and my goals, right? So for example, in my case, let's say I had diabetes, right? Or my blood sugar was a little high. It'll start taking all that into action or into account, and then it'll start recommending, what meals would work for me. So for example, because I say that I want Indian food, it's coming up with paneer tikka, palak paneer, and whole wheat roti. Right? My friends in Brazil, they tried it. They got very different recommendations. Everybody will get a different recommendations, based on what your preferences and, your macros. The macros start driving the key implications. And yeah, exactly. So the sugars, the proteins, exactly. And that nobody does today.
How are you getting that data?
So we have built an entire system. So as we do the image recognition part, and then we have stitched together, the volume estimation. So we have solved some really hard problems on that front. Okay. Well, thank you.
Some quick communication tips there. Very, very well done. Lots of great deployment of dynamic variation on the components of speech. Your rate of speech was dynamic, changing your pitch and your volume quite well so that we can engage with you, using pithy, surprising statements, and kinesthetically engaging your audience by asking questions. All very well done. One thing that got better as you proceeded, but at the beginning, when particularly that adrenaline is probably running more, is just as you proceeded further into the pitch, you were much better at tolerating silence. And that's one of the areas that, as communicators, we have a lot of discomfort around. We feel the pressure to have to continue to speak constantly. And that's when things like filler language, when redundancy, when rambling start to come up, because we have some internalized pressure around, I have to keep speaking. Now, as you all probably noticed, as he proceeded throughout the pitch and paused really effectively, you probably started to lean in more. And I can also challenge you, if you ever notice people in the audience starting to stop focusing or stop paying attention, one of the best ways to recapture them is just to stop talking. all of a sudden, that pattern that our brains have picked up on, that din of speech, is interrupted. There's a novel stimulus in the room, and suddenly we have to pay attention to it in order to determine whether or not it's something that is worthy of our attention. So I just want you to consider that, particularly as you're starting the communication, because that's when we are most excited, to remember that there is a lot of potency in tolerating silence. Now, for all of the rest of you, just 2 quick resources that I wanted to offer in case you're curious about improving your communication yourselves. The first is our founder, Michael Chad Hapner, wrote a book. It's called Don't Say The title is a trick. It's highlighted in the preface. Check it out if this is something of interest to you. It catalogs a whole series of different exercises to help you kinesthetically improve your communication. And finally, we just launched a community platform called GK Vault. It's a service where folks like you can connect with one another. We offer services through that platform, and it's an opportunity to connect with us should you wish to leverage our services even further. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you all so much, and I will hand it back over to Aaron.
Thank you so much.
All right. So listen, first of all, can we get a big round of applause for Ahmed and GK Training? I talk a lot about there's 2 things that come across when you're up on these stages. One is the viability of the business itself. The other is your ability to communicate to our audience. Very powerful. Thank you so much. Some of these things into that practice. And if you're not going to call them, at least set up your phone, record your pitch, and watch it back. I'm shocked at how few people. Is that the way to say that? That no one does that. So anyway, we're going to get Valerie up here in a second, but here's what I'm going to ask you to do. This is really like 30 seconds. I'm going to do this, and it's hard to get the group to be calm after this, but I'm going to ask you to abide by the rules here. Stand up, high five your neighbor, say hello, sit down. You have 30 seconds. Go. Valerie, you can come on up.
He's the one I mentioned.
Yes. Do it too. Good job on arranging.
Thank you. It's a good night. Have you been to one of these before?
No.
Oh, well.
Been to the big one.
Well, they came out of this, doing this for 10 years. All right, you got to sit back down. Where to get going? We can sort of.
Are we sharing mic?
Oh, no, sorry. Let me get this for you. Thanks. All right, everybody, please take a seat. I know, see this, I sometimes don't do it because you get these stragglers in the back, they won't sit down. Nobody wants to listen. Hello in the back. Can you guys please sit down? Thank you. Here we go. They don't care.
Come on, guys. We're getting to the good part.
Yeah, this is the good.
Well,
Hello.
it's all good, to be honest.
Hello, there we go. Okay, so Valerie Chapman is a leading voice in AI and personal branding. She, in the creator economy, she's the founder and CMO at Inform. How many of you have posted on LinkedIn in the last 6 months? How many in the last week? How many today? All right. If you do that, you notice how many impressions you may get. Through Valerie's work, she's helped brands and she's helped generate over 140 million impressions in the last 6 months. So we've got a lot to learn here today. She's on a mission to also close the gender gap that's projected to be a 100-year gap, I believe, between women and men. 134. It says 100 plus here.
Yeah, I know.
But we'll talk about that. She's also on a mission to make sure that we are leveraging the tools at our disposal to build our personal brands and leverage AI to do so. Please help me welcome Valerie, who also crossed the river to be here tonight as our special guest tonight.
Thank you, guys. I'm so happy
This
to be
is
here.
yours.
Thank you, Eric, for having me. It's an honor.
Thanks for joining us. And thank you for doing the awkward stand-up. We were supposed to sit there, but there's no riser and you guys can't see, so we're just going to stand the whole time.
It's okay.
So why should anyone care? Oh, I forgot to advance the slide. But you can answer this. Why should anyone care about personal branding?
I'm curious, how many of you guys say like you're building your personal brand right now actively? Okay. What's your platform of choice?
Mine's LinkedIn.
Okay. What about you back there? What's your platform of choice? Is it unanimous across the board for like LinkedIn crowd in here? Okay, great.
How many post regularly on X, which I refuse to call X, but one person. How many frequently post? We had a lot of hands go up on the LinkedIn. What other platforms do you like to highlight?
Well, honestly, LinkedIn's my favorite, so we're going to focus
Great.
on that one because that's the one that allowed me to leave my corporate job. So I feel like we're going to talk all about that. I'm going to share a little bit about what's happening on the platform right now because LinkedIn has changed a lot in the last few years, right? It's gone from being a place where you find a job to all of a sudden being a place where there's brand deals with B2B companies if you so position yourself correctly, right? And so I think it's also a place right now for entrepreneurs to really share their voice and share their expertise and offer a lot of value. So for the people in the room who have been posting on LinkedIn, are you guys doing primarily written or have you explored video on there in the last 6 months or so? Both, okay. And what has the response been for video specifically? Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool, amazing.
More questions? Or I mean, I have a lot here.
Yeah, give me
So I still talk to people who I'm shocked say things like, metaphorically or sometimes literally, no one cares what I had for breakfast this morning. And so people get stuck on what to post. Why does it matter? What's the right mentality in what kind of content to be putting out?
Yeah, okay. So when I started, let me give you a backstory about me, okay? Back in July, I had applied to a sales job in influencer marketing, and they're like, we want you to start posting like you're a LinkedIn thought leader. So I was like, what are you talking about? I only post on Instagram, I do TikTok. And so I really didn't know where to begin. And so I went on ChatGPT and I started asking it some questions. I come from a marketing, social media brain, so I said, can you build out a 6 to 7 page document positioning me as a thought leader in X, Y, and Z? Essentially built out a business marketing plan the same way you would for a business, but you do it for yourself, right? And so I started to realize how powerful this one little document was that I, created this output from, essentially, and I was like, more women need to be doing this in particular, right? Or, there's a lot of men here too. You guys should be doing this too, right? So I would say, like, when you guys go home tonight, like, do that exact prompt. Give it all the context of what you do in your business, and then say, build me out a 6 to 7 page document to position me as a thought leader in X, Y, and Z. I always say pick 3 content pillars. So for me, I do personal branding, AI, and Gen Z. And the reason I say do 3 is because people really want to follow someone who offers an interdisciplinary perspective, right? If you just talk about marketing, there's so many people who are going to talk about marketing, but if you talk about marketing with a little wellness in there, you all of a sudden become the most interesting person in the room. And so I think people tend to stray away from doing that on LinkedIn, but really that's what's going to set you apart, is kind of adding that one thing that you perhaps are obsessed with, but maybe isn't so work-focused.
So many questions about that. The first is, were you actually a marketing thought leader when you asked ChatGPT that question?
No, I was not. I had built a following on Instagram, on TikTok, around like 30, 40K, but really nothing crazy. And I feel like I really didn't land on like what my voice and my mission was until I got on LinkedIn and started using AI to really craft and refine it. And so another thing that people don't talk about is the mindset work, right? A lot of us aren't showing up online because of fear of perception, fear of what our friends will think of us. And so after I had the ChatGPT document built up, I was like, all right, this is pretty awesome, but now I'm scared to post on LinkedIn, right? So I actually did a lot of mirror work, okay? When no one was talking about what I was making and no one, was looking at my content, I had 0 views. I looked in the mirror every day when I did my makeup, or you can do it like when you get out of the shower, like you're getting ready. And I looked in the mirror when I had 0 freaking views, and I said, I am a LinkedIn thought leader. Millions of people care about what I have to say. And within 3 months, I had over 3 million impressions. I was invited into LinkedIn headquarters. Been there many times now, and ended up securing my first brand deal with them in December. So within a few months of going all in. So I think the mindset part is something that people really, I think aren't as transparent about, but that was one of the most critical components to any success that I've found on LinkedIn, because what happens when you start telling yourself that you already are that, you start showing up a little differently, right? So I started noticing that even the posts that I would write, I would show up a little bit more confident, right? Or I'd position myself more like an expert, right? And so I think doing that work is a critical component to all of this.
So, love the mindset piece. I want to go to the tactics on the actual posts. I am positive if we stop this talk now, people would come up to me and they would say, that's super cool, or maybe not, but she wasn't actually an experienced marketing thought leader. And so I'm curious, it sounds like you did a build a plane while you're flying situation, which I'm all about. But authenticity is, I think, a big part of the equation here and what resonates with people. So how did you come up with content while you were doing this that was authentic to you, that resonated with people, that also, I mean, and if you were just making it up, that's fine too, but I'm curious how you advise people on the kinds of content they put out that is personal.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't just like making it up as I go. When it comes to ideas, I come from a really intuitive side. Okay, maybe I'm like a little woo for maybe some of you tech guys, but when I have an idea, basically the first step, you have to build your strategy using ChatGPT, right? Once you have that document, it all of a sudden compounds all of this stuff about you, and so then the next step is you get an idea, right? You're on a walk and you're like, da-da-da-da, well, that'd be a cool LinkedIn post, but then you have to do your laundry and you forget, and all of a sudden, like, you didn't post. Damn, right? Okay, but instead, now I have ChatGPT, I have a custom GPT trained on all things Valerie Chapman personal brand, which I suggest every single person in the room do. And then when I'm walking, all of a sudden I'll get an idea and I'll be like, hey, can you write me a post based on this idea? So I take a seed of an idea that would have otherwise gone into the ether because I have to do my laundry and forgot. And I take that and all of a sudden now I have a post because I fed my custom GPT on all of my previous writing or all of my previous work. And so that's been a big thing in terms of like getting it across the finish line so that the ideas don't just spontaneously combust. And then that obviously helps you get more posts out, helps you become more consistent because when I started I was working a corporate job, so I had to figure out how do I do this in a limited amount of time. And so that really helped me just compound my efforts completely.
So I have done that exact exercise. I have a strong LinkedIn following, used to post much more regularly, have seen a lot of the benefits of this. And this week, my goal is to get back to posting 3 times a week or more, ask ChatGPT for a guide. It's felt generic.
Yeah.
And so how do you find something that works for the individual specifically? Is there a specific prompt that you recommend, or how do you get people to, how does it create a plan for you that works for the individual?
Yeah, I do 2 things. I give it a lot of context, right? People, like I really do treat it like my therapist. If I'm dealing with something, like if I get a rejection, let's say, I had applied to, this is a perfect example, I applied to some startup cohort, ended up getting rejected, right? No one likes that feeling. And so instead of wallowing in my own misery, I took that little seed of an idea and I was like, I bet there's a couple other people dealing with rejection, why don't I make a LinkedIn post about it? So I put the seeds of the idea in my custom GPT and I say, I want to make a post about this. I don't really want to talk about, all the details of the startup cohort, etc., but let's keep it vague. And if you can make me sound like Joan Didion, that would be amazing too, right? So like, if you like a writer or you're inspired by someone's work, like I say like go for that. Really, it's not going to just give you the answer. You really have to have taste. Like the age of AI is about who has taste, who is a good curator, who really has a vision. So to think that it's just going to pump out something on a silver platter for you isn't the right idea, but it does give you the tools to present concepts to brands and to people you want to meet on a silver platter if you have taste.
So can we get one level deeper there? Like what personal taste do you bring to the guide to post things that are authentic and interesting and will resonate with folks that don't? I mean, I see today lots of posts that are clearly written by AI off of ChatGPT.
Yeah, I look at 2 things. I look at storytelling. I always try to be like, can we add some storytelling to this? Like if I get an output from it and I'm like, this is so basic, I'll be like, this is cheesy, this is corny, like I'll tell it that, and then I'll be like, let's infuse some storytelling, like about that time when I did this and that, right? And eventually it starts to remember all these various things that you've done in your career, or that time, we spoke at a college, right? Like it'll remember those things and then you can infuse that within your post. Storytelling and adding that personal touch. So whether it's like a really cool thing that happened to you in your career or something about how when you were young, maybe you were insecure, but how did you overcome that? People love a hero story. And so I always try to look at my content, my storytelling through how can I make people root for me? And how can I make people, like me more? Because obviously, I want to be liked, right? And so you can even.
I used to want to be liked. I don't really care anymore.
Well, I don't really care. Like, you're still going to get hate, and that's like part of it, totally. But for the most part, my mission is really to inspire women, and so like I want to come off like a nice, kind person. And so you can prompt it to, do things that are more in line with that kind of tone. If it, for instance, maybe doesn't come off as naturally in your typical writing style.
What about the choice of posting? We've got a lot of entrepreneurs in the room posting using their own brand, their actual individual brand or their business brand? What do you recommend to people?
Yeah, I think you gotta post from you, right? People trust people. I'm sure a lot of us have heard that, right? I think it's such a strength for you to be able to tell your story and your journey. That's what people are gonna relate to. And I think oftentimes I've even spoken to people who maybe have an accent and they're like, I don't really feel comfortable posting like video content. I'm like, you need to be posting video content because there's other people with an accent who need to see you showing up, right? And so the things that make you different are actually the things that make you stand out the most, and you have to lean in. When people say be authentic, what they really mean is you need to lean in to all of those things that maybe your mom is like, don't do that, right? Like for instance, you know, for the longest time, really didn't love corporate America, right? But it wasn't, it's funny, it wasn't until I got laid off that I was able to like speak openly about my thoughts on that all of a sudden I saw a little bit of traction because people really resonated with my authentic voice. And I was really vulnerable. I shared the fact that I was laid off twice. Like those are things that my mom would be like, I can't believe you're gonna post that online. So you have to think about what is that thing that maybe is like a little bit of a sore topic that maybe even kind of makes you feel bad, right? You need to lean into that. That's the secret sauce.
Were those posts where you showed vulnerability, where you know, saying that you got laid off? Can you share the results of those? Was it worth it?
Yeah, it was totally worth it. I mean, so saying that I got laid off actually got me a piece in Fortune magazine, and sharing that story organically is what landed me the LinkedIn partnership, and it kind of started a ripple effect. So now when I do, you know, work and do one-on-ones and workshops with women, I tell them like, lean into that. That's the moment. That is the thing that's going to set you apart. It's the thing that draws people to you. It's what makes you magnetic. If you are just a shell of yourself, no one's going to care about your business and no one's going to want to help you.
So can we talk about we talked about using ChatGPT to give you a guide. Are there other tools, other AI tools that you recommend for folks?
Yes. There's one tool called Poppy AI specifically that it has both ChatGPT and Claude within it. But it kind of shows it like a mind map, so it's for very visual people, and it's great at coming up with scripts, or if you interview people often, it's really good at that because you can actually put in YouTube videos as well, all within this kind of mind map layout. So I really love that. It's called Poppy AI. And then I enjoy Perplexity a lot. If anyone here has newsletters, it's really great for just kind of rounding up like little article pieces. Like let's say you make content specifically about Gen Z trends. I'm just going to throw out an example. You know, you'd be able to use Perplexity to, on a weekly basis, compile a newsletter about everything that's happening within the cultural zeitgeist regarding Gen Z trends. And you can even hyper-localize to Gen Z moments happening in New York, right? And that's how we're going to see, you know, more people essentially create more niche communities where the right people are really finding them because you're offering value week over week. And Perplexity is a really great tool for that. And then additionally, I really love deep research on ChatGPT. I think a lot of people that I speak to still either have like the free version, which I'm like, no, don't do that. And then a lot of people haven't, you know, taken the leap and further invested. And I think it really is such a big advantage if you can to get that kind of $200 version, just to like be that early adopter that's, you know, already familiar with the tech before it becomes more, you know, mass adopted.
Are automations part of your strategy at all?
They are not currently, because the nature of the work that I do, it really entails, you know, me showing up and doing content, and also doing a lot of outbound, but the outbound that I do is hyper-personalized. Like I will reach out to B2B brands like HubSpot or like Meta, right? And I'll reach out to them, and I'm not just sending them like blasted cold emails. Like I come from the sales world, like we're not doing that when it's my name on it, right? But because I'm sending it from my name, I make sure it's super hyper-personalized, and I actually create custom pitches in the same way a creative agency would. And I say, hey, I have this viral Gen Z Day in My Life series, so I package up a series, right? And I essentially showcase a concept on a silver platter to them that's a lot harder to say no to. So I don't use automation because I think you really have to be particular with where you're using AI, and that's just not one that's going to help my business.
Yeah. What about posting videos, imagery, or just text? What's your recommendation to people?
I do a bit of both. I think like you do what you can with what you have, right? Like we only have a certain amount of energy in the day, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to film a video every day. not gonna be me, okay? And so, like yesterday, for instance, I made a video, I started at like 11 p.m., wasn't done until 2 a.m., right? But at least I got the video up, and so that's sometimes the way the cookie crumbles, and then there's other days where I'll do a written post. So it's like, how can you incorporate this content within your day? I think day in the lives for founders right now on LinkedIn are doing exceptionally well. So if you can do a day in my life as a founder starting a this and this company, those do fantastic, because then people have an inner look into your world. They see you not as just like some robot, but as a real, genuine person who's building something, and that really builds connection with people. So, yeah.
What are some common mistakes? And by the way, if you raise your hands, I'll start to work in some questions. We'll come to you next. What are some common mistakes that people make in trying to build their personal brand?
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed on LinkedIn is the headline, okay? So when I was first developing my LinkedIn page, I ended up buying a course from Justin Welsh, and I never buy courses, but I did about 25% of this course, in all transparency. And I learned one really, really valuable thing, which was how to write your headline properly. And I recognize that a lot of people have a labeling problem, okay? A lot of women specifically will be like, I'm a freelancer. Okay, instead of I'm an entrepreneur, right? It's like a man comes up with an idea, they're like, I'm an entrepreneur. And so I think there's a labeling problem with that, and we see that right now with a lot of people within corporate America, just kind of listing on the headline what their title is, and sometimes it'll be a very complex title that like no one knows, and it's very abstract to like an outside consumer. And so this Justin Welsh course kind of said, you know, we should start within a framework of I help X, Y, and Z do X, Y, and Z. And so I would say, the first thing I do when I coach someone is I say change your headline on LinkedIn so that the second people look at a snapshot of your page, they know exactly what you do and who you help. I asked a room of 40 women, I said, who do you help? And they pondered on this question for probably like 20 minutes because they just couldn't figure out who they helped. But once you figure that out, like for instance, my headline on LinkedIn is I help women leverage AI to build powerful personal brands. So you want to get hyper specific with who you help, right? And because we all help someone, that's the only reason why your company or you as a consultant would ever make any money. So if you can really pinpoint who it is that you help, and if you had, let's say, a billionaire client come in your inbox, who would they be? Are they a woman? Are they a man? Are they a tech expert? Like who do you help, and who is that ideal customer? That's what your headline should be. And don't be afraid to be specific, because you want people to be able to be like, oh, okay, let me DM her, because I already saw that. That's what she does. You don't want there to be any question about who you help.
Question over here, yeah.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Engaging people, and you can automate outreach campaigns using that.
Yeah.
Fascinating, especially Dripify, what you can do as far as engagement, lightning, communication,
Yeah.
Anybody want to build AI? It's seeing a lot of fascinating things in that space. What are your thoughts about using those tools to reach out to customers, people, connections?
Yeah. So I'm definitely pro-automation when it comes to scaling a business, but I'm not necessarily pro-automation when you're scaling a personal brand, right? Because it's so contingent on your human capital. The way that you show up and that energy is like the most important thing. So if you're automating that, you've lost all the magic, right? You've lost all the magic. But if you have good energy about like that one person that you really believe and you visualize that deal going through, and like the likelihood of that closing is much higher than you just blasting some stuff just to say you did a bunch of stuff with AI on a Tuesday. But I do love automation in terms of like, it can be done in the right way, but you really have to be thinking about it. How do I personalize this as much as possible? I don't use Dripify, but I've explored like Zapier a little bit, but I think what I'm waiting for personally is for ChatGPT's operator to start integrating with a couple different apps. I think where we're going to see a real game changer from the consumer side is when ChatGPT's operator starts integrating with apps like Canva and with Pinterest, because that's going to completely transform affiliate marketing as we know it. So I'm waiting for that. But until then, I think that these other tools are still a little bit too complex for just a normal user.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you think about quality versus quantity delivery? For example, I have posted a lot of consumers, but I still do it because I like that being consistent.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Is that valuable? How do you think about that?
Yeah, I think consistency is the most important thing on LinkedIn. But with that said, I think you have to be consistent, but you shouldn't lower your quality, right? The way that you're showing up on LinkedIn, because there's this preconceived idea of LinkedIn being a professional platform, you're kind of already like running out of the gate at a high advantage in terms of your positioning. There's gonna be a higher level of trust there than you would find on something like TikTok. And so I think consistency is really important. You want to focus on quality. Like if you see that video is performing better, just double down on video. That's what I did. And then on like the days where you're like a little lazy and maybe you didn't want to get the video up, just do something with the photo, and it's not the end of the world, especially if the caption is like packed with educational content. Like I will never post just like a bunch of fluff just to get it out there. Every piece of content, when it comes to making sure it's quality, it should be educational and inspiring. If it isn't both of those things, like you're better off not posting it.
Go ahead. Apparently we both call on someone here. We'll start here.
All right. Great topic. Thank you for talking about
Thank
this.
you.
Just wonder if you'd ever looked into the days of the week to do that, because I noticed when I post certain days, sometimes the weekend is great, sometimes it's like the worst, and never managed to get any consistency there, so I wonder if you do have something.
Yeah, I haven't found necessarily that one day is better than the other. However, I do like to post on Sunday nights. That one, to be honest, I feel like it's good. It's a little less saturated that day, so maybe it kind of goes to the top of the algorithm. But yeah, I think a Sunday night is nice. It also is a nice start to the week if you like pop off overnight, which has happened before, so it's definitely possible.
I found consistency is the #1 driver of engagement, of impressions and reach, which I think you do a pretty solid job of. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do agree. I think the weeks where like I get 4 or 5 videos up are the weeks where I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like millions of views flooding in. Whereas like I had been posting in the last like few weeks, but wasn't posting at that same cadence. And I definitely saw that algorithmically it was not pushing it to the same level. But it's just about like getting back in the game, right? It's like you're not going to win a boxing match if you haven't been practicing for like a couple weeks. So I would say like look at it in a similar way for sure. It's like, how do we get the reps in? How do we just continuously share our story? Because even if something doesn't go viral, like you never know. You have like people who really care about your story and connect with you, and like that's the person you're writing for every day, even if like 5 people look.
There was that question. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I feel like I'm not sure what the question is.
Are you archiving it?
Do I?
How are you getting ChatGPT to know your voice? Are you loading in each, you mentioned a custom GPT, are you loading in each post? How does it learn your style?
I honestly switch it around, right? Like people are very like rigid with their techniques. It's like that's not my style. I kind of go with the flow. So if I have an idea, I will pump it into one of my custom GPTs. I call it Valerie Chapman Personal Brand. Everyone should make one, first name, last name, personal brand. Start shoving your best performing posts in there, the ones where you're really proud of that tone and voice, the ones that you've spent the longest time iterating. That's what you want to train your custom GPT on. So I do have one of those, but sometimes I'll pop into my Claude, and I switched it around because at the end of the day, your taste is the only thing that matters.
Other questions? Yes.
How do you be authentic and be yourself while still maintaining a sense of professionalism and etiquette?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think being vulnerable is something that we're going to see a lot more of, right? Especially as AI comes even more in the picture. But vulnerability, as we know, is a strength, and it's all about how you position yourself. So if you did go through something career-wise that was a challenge, don't tell me necessarily about the challenge and how it like ruined your freaking life. Tell me about what you did after that, right? And so that becomes professional, because now all of a sudden I have a look into what your mindset is, and all of a sudden I respect you because you went through stuff. So it's all about the positioning, it's all about the storytelling, and it's also all about presentation. So like if you are making a video, like honestly, like I always wear makeup. Like I'm like, before I film something, I'm like, I'm in hair and makeup. Like we're pretending we're like backstage in the studio. Like you really got to get into that moment, because you want to come in with like that big energy, because that's what people are going to feel.
Do you think that, I understand where his question is coming from. He's a high school student, and so I think there's a real serious concern about, he's building his brand live.
Yeah.
My view is a little bit more being authentic may not be as buttoned up and as professional. And I would say I think good lighting is the number one thing more than anything.
Yeah, I have the Alex Earl light.
Just stand in front of a window, like find yourself a good light. But is professionalism really the driving force? Isn't it? I would argue it's more about being sort of authentic and real. And sometimes you can hear I'm kind of a prick sometimes, and I show up that way online.
Yeah.
I think it works for my brand. But so how would you encourage people to think about what is authentic to them?
Yeah, I think like really thinking about what is your story, right? Like what is your story? If like you grew up and you were doubted, let's say by family members, like that's an element of your story that you can lean into. And so as a student, like find that, or if you go to a school and it's in New Jersey, the beautiful state of New Jersey, overlooking, the New York City skyline, I would say draw brand associations wherever you can as early as you can. Like when you are in college, you should be posting, honestly, oh my gosh, I wish I was posting on LinkedIn in college. That would be crazy. But if I was, I would be posting all the time. I would have been using the brand association of, when I went to NYU, I would have been using that often. I would have been posting about that, because that compounded effort of you, maybe being a college student who hasn't necessarily built their resume up, you can still use brand association to make you perhaps position yourself at a much higher level.
Thank you very much. This was super awesome. How many people are going to post something in the next 24 hours because of tonight's conversation?
Yay.
That's a bunch.
That's
If you need content, like you're surrounded by opportunities of content in this room, before you leave tonight, you could take a photo of something and have some interesting caption or something she shared. So there are lots of easy ways to get this done. Can we get a big round of applause for Valerie for joining us tonight? Thank you very much. All right, we are almost done, I promise. Thank you very much. You could just drop it on the floor, apparently. Yeah, it's a literal drop the mic. So, if you go to, I don't know if you can scan that QR code from where you are, but if you go to AHA/AIDN4, like AI Demo Nights number 4, you can join us in our trivia section. It's very quiet in here now. Seems to be working for some of you. That's great. Maybe only the front row. AHA Slides, ahaslides.com/AIDN. It's all caps. I'm not sure it matters. The number 4. You're welcome to participate. Encouraged even, especially you, Jim. Everyone can do it. I'm going to give you another minute and we'll get started. Okay, here's how this is going to work. You're going to look at your phone for a question. The faster you answer correctly, the more points you get. There'll be a leaderboard. The winner gets his candle. Here we go. First question. What does Cognite's AI agents do besides answering questions? Is it make transactions, consult, or both, all of the above? Let's see how we're doing on our leaderboard. All the above. All right. So, yes, I advance. Steve is in the lead. Who's Steve? In the back. Steve is the guy. Oh, not your company. Good job. You're the guy to beat. Next question. Faster you answer, the more points you get. Here we go. Over the past 30 days, what % of vehicles scanned through UVI had some form of maintenance or safety issue flagged? You have 10 seconds to answer. These were things that the startups shared during their presentations. So this is really to see if you were paying attention. 30%. Good job. Most of you got that right. Yeah. Steve was kicking ass, but now Kaylin behind the desk, popping forward. Here we go. Next question. What are the 4 pillars of health Live 150 is built around? Is it mind, food, gym, rest, nutrition, activity, mindfulness, and sleep, walk, run, stretch, and breathe? Were you paying attention? We're going to find out. This is a school. Nutrition, activity, mindfulness, sleep. You guys are doing fantastic. Really listening. Kaylin, holding the streak. Nice job. Oh, there's even all sorts of things happening here. All right. Who should win tonight's Audience Choice Award and this very super fancy trophy? Is it Cognute, UVI, or Live 150? Ooh, it's very close. By 1 vote, UVI claims the trophy. Nice job. And last question, how awesome was tonight's event? So good, you should charge 100,000% tariff. So good, DOE should fund instead of Harvard. So good, I told everyone on Signal. That concludes the quiz. Let's see who won. Kaylin. Big round of applause for Kaylin. Good job. You won the candle. And I think that's it. You guys meet somebody new? Raise your hand if you met someone new. Did you learn something? Did you have a good time? All right, you can hang out here for a little bit and network, and then I'll kick you out. Thank you for coming, and I hope to see you next month. Oh, and please throw away your trash. Please throw away your trash. Whew, that was stressful.
Thank you. Hi. Nice to meet you. It's great. It's a great honor. Great. Look. This was what inspired it's a great program. We got this. Like you said earlier, so I think this year is well, Boston on the auction. You're the husband. No, sorry. Yeah. It's fine. Yeah.
So can you text him for me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yes. Lost by 1 more. Yeah, I will be working. So she started looking for $10 million. Yeah.
You're gonna come for May? Yeah.
So?
You're coming for May, yeah? Or no? Or, sorry, I'm not using track. Like we said yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very kind.
That's shocking. I'm so sorry, may I grab the same clock from you?
Hey, just it's open to them, right? How were they? That was that going? It's okay. Yeah. They had some changes. Should I try to re-engage with anybody? I try to re-engage.
הם יותר שחסר להם את המופעים של המכניקה שהם לא נשמעו בשלב.